If your dumbass stoner friend accidentally barricaded your sauna's door with a ladder and then pieced out for the night, leaving you to roast alive in the grown-up version of an easy bake oven, what would you do? This rustic sauna is built like a brick shithouse, so busting out the old-fashioned way isn't gonna work. And it is sweltering 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Our blood will be boiling by the time our friend wakes up from his nap. It's up to us to Macgyver a way out. I'm going to break down the mistakes made by our hot couples, see if we can make better decisions, and ultimately attempt to beat the human oven in 247 degrees Fahrenheit. If you thought the main characters in Human Centipede were stupid, just wait. 4 friends, Jenna, Renee, Ian, and Michael, arrive by speedboat to Ian's uncle's cabin for a long weekend of smoking the green, drinking liquid gold, and getting sweaty in a sauna. There's also a pagan festival happening in the nearby town, but I don't think we're gonna make it. Ian's uncle Wade and his dog are there to greet them with local moonshine when they arrive, but Jenna skips the booze to check out the cabin by herself. It's the sort of Airbnb that looks like camping with extra steps, except for the sauna Wade had installed in the back room. After a dinner of carbs and more moonshine, the group takes their first dip in the sauna. Jenna's the only one that thinks to grab bottles of water. Ian tells them that it's a European-style sauna, currently sitting at 184 degrees. He dribbles water onto the steam rocks, increasing the humidity and temperature in the room. Michael's already sweating heavily as he drinks beer and wishes that they had snow to cool off in. Ian suggests that they jump in the lake instead, and then makes fun of them for only lasting 2 minutes in the sauna. After a few cycles of sauna time, jumping in the lake, and rounds of moonshine, Michael's visibly drunk. He screws up his sure thing with his girlfriend and then bails on the sauna. There's a loud crash outside the door. They call out to Michael, but he doesn't respond. Renee decides to leave, but now the door won't budge. When Jenna starts to panic, Ian suggests Michael is just playing a prank on them and will let them out soon. He says they should relax, but Renee starts yelling and Jenna reminds them that Wade gave Michael drugs earlier. They wonder if Wade will come back, but Ian reminds them that he'll be at the local party all night. Michael is a drunk idiot, not a psychopath. Trapping your friends in a sauna would be far too demented. It's way more likely that he knocked something over and left. Maybe he will come back in a few minutes. No need to immediately become hysterical. That said, we don't have too many minutes to spare if he did pass out upstairs. According to a 1958 NASA report, people can live indefinitely in environments that range between roughly 40 and 95 degrees Fahrenheit, if at no more than 50% relative humidity. The maximum survival temperature is higher when it's less humid, because lower water content in the air makes it easier to sweat, and thus keep cool. Dry saunas are generally used in 10 to 15 minute bursts and kept at a safe standard temperature between 180 and 195 degrees. Wet saunas, or steam rooms, are airtight, so the humidity can stay at 100%. Because the 100% humidity keeps your sweat from evaporating and can lead to heat exhaustion and dehydration super quickly, they're usually kept no higher than 120 degrees. When you start pouring water on the hot rocks to create steam, the radiating heat in a wet sauna will make it feel like it's 180 degrees almost immediately. According to a Finnish research study, a 30-minute stay in a sauna with a temperature of 176 degrees Fahrenheit increases rectal temperature by about 1 degree in adults. Fatal hyperthermia can occur when the human body's internal temperature increases by 5 degrees. If the temperature in a sauna were to rise steadily, you would die after just 2.5 hours in a dry sauna, even with low humidity. 2.5 hours seems like it gives us a long time to figure out a solution. That is, if we can keep our brains functioning. The average 15-minute session in a sauna can cause a person to lose up to 4 cups or 1 liter of sweat because heat triggers your nerve endings to release the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, which triggers millions of sweat glands to kick into gear. Male bodies average around 60% water, while females average around 55% water. This means that a normally hydrated 120-pound woman would contain about 30 liters of water, while a 180-pound man would contain 50 liters. Dehydration can occur in high humidity environments, and even a 2% body water deficit is enough to cause cognitive function decline. This means that a 120-pound woman would start to suffer from symptoms of physical dehydration after losing as little as 1.1 liters, or 4.4 cups, about 15 minutes into the sauna. A 180-pound man Jen would begin to suffer after a loss of 2.5 liters, or 10 cups, or about 37 minutes in the sauna. You might think Jen is better off here, as she hasn't been drinking, but she's in the same hot seat as Ian and Renee. Earlier, we learned that Jenna is taking antipsychotic meds to deal with PTSD after the death of her boyfriend. Antipsychotics make it even more difficult for the body to regulate temperature, and they make users even more sensitive to high heat. As far as our cohort of co-eds is concerned, our countdown to death begins here with a starting temperature of 184 degrees. By the time they realize the door is jammed, they've been in the sauna approximately 15 minutes. Investing in a sauna has its health benefits, if you don't get trapped inside for hours, but they ain't cheap. Upgrade your funds by putting your money to work with Masterworks. Masterworks is one of the largest buyers in the art market, with over 75 years of art buying experience, and is the only platform for investing in contemporary fine art for just a fraction of what billionaire investors pay to purchase. The art market is a different kind of investing, as it's a non-volatile growing market that's not correlated to stocks and bonds, and outperforms both the S&P by 164% and other asset classes with inflation. Investments in art were previously limited to the super wealthy, but Masterworks is changing that. You can now invest in pieces by Banksy, Andy Warhol, Basquiat, and Picasso through the Masterworks platform. How Masterworks works makes it easy for anyone to purchase art investments with the barriers removed. Masterworks experts select the artist with the most momentum based on research in art trends and appreciation value projections. They purchase the artwork and then file the asset with the SEC, which then allows members to invest in the art. Masterworks then waits to sell the art in 3 to 10 years, at which point you would receive your proceeds. Or you can sell shares on the secondary market. So far, they've returned over 30% net IRR to investors after the sale of 3 paintings, one being a Banksy. Masterworks is giving everyday people like us the opportunity to join the ranks of billionaire art collectors. Sign up in just 60 seconds by clicking on my link in the description. Thanks Masterworks for sponsoring this video. Ian and Renee notice something is leaning against the door outside. Renee says they need to break the small porthole window in the door, but Ian doesn't want to wreck Wade's rental. Jenna points out a temperature sensor on the wall that attaches to the thermostat just outside the door. Ian tells them it's just a sensor that reads the temperature of the air, and once the room reaches a certain temperature, the thermostat turns the heat off. The actual heater in the room is gas powered and the controls are outside. Realizing Michael might not be coming back for a while, Ian pulls a rock out of the heater cage, cools it down in their drinking water, then smashes the window out with it, badly wounding his hand in the process. Cooling the stone down and using it to smash the window was a clever idea, but Ian should have known to wrap a shirt or towel around it to protect his hand. Breaking the door window has pros and cons. It allows for better airflow and for the group to yell for help more easily. They can also see and potentially move the thing that's blocking the door. Unfortunately, breaking the window also means that the temperature sensor on the wall will struggle to regulate the sauna's internal temp. No sauna is pre-programmed to reach 247 degrees. It would only reach that temperature because the sensor does not sense a high enough temperature to turn the heater off. Ian tells us the sauna started at 180 degrees. Once they break the window, hot air rises out towards the ceiling in the colder room, while colder air enters through the broken window and sinks towards the floor, dropping the sauna's temp. The temp sensor then registers that the sauna has cooled and triggers the heater to burn even hotter to compensate. Now, the sensor will have to wait until both rooms register a high enough temp before it shuts the heater off. But remember, the sensor turns the heater off and on. Once the heater is off, the sauna will only be able to cool a little bit before the heater kicks back on again. In a sauna, the temperature is hottest near the ceiling and generally decreases by about 10 degrees per foot as you near the floor. Now that the window is broken, they should lay down on the floor where the air is the coolest, with their backs to the heater to reduce direct heat exposure. They should avoid unnecessary movement to limit sweating and conserve their water by keeping it in the plastic bottles and storing those under the bench in the darkest corner to minimize evaporation. They could also try tearing the benches down, hiding behind them, and using them like a barricade between them and the heater. Sure, this is a passive strategy, but sweating puts them at greater risk of quick dehydration and heat exhaustion, so staying calm and still will give them additional time to wait for rescue. At this point, they've been in the sauna about 30 minutes, so their internal temperature has likely risen about 1 degree Celsius. Breaking the window will give them a short reprieve, but now that the temperature is rising consistently, it won't be long before they start to suffer critical damage. We peer through the window hole and see a wooden step ladder has fallen and wedged itself between the tub outside the sauna and the sauna door. Renee wets a t-shirt and puts the water on her body to cool down. Ian says it's only temporary relief. He says her overheated body self-insulates with sweat, so by dabbing herself with water, it's confusing the body to believe it's cooler than it is. Ian warns the women that because the window is broken, the sauna can't regulate its temperature anymore. It's going to continuously try to reach the thermostat temperature and fail, cranking up the heat. Ian wraps the cold stone in a shirt and feeds it through the window. He tries to wrap it around the ladder to dislodge it, but can't. Ian, the screenwriter's exposition machine. It's a wonder he didn't think to move potential barricade dangers away from the sauna door before they entered, considering how much he seems to know about the dangers of saunas now that they're trapped in one. Too little, too late. He's right though, about telling yourself off with a wet shirt. This will make you reach heat exhaustion faster. Your body overheats because sweat can't evaporate. So adding warm water that can't evaporate in this high humidity environment is only overheating your body faster. Wrapping the stone in the shirt to try and knock the ladder away is a good idea, but it'd have been better to try swinging the rock from the side with enough momentum to wrap the rock and shirt around one of the rungs, like the end of Indiana Jones's whip. The simpler solution here would have been to have Ian reach his arm fully through the window to try and unwedge the blockage in front of the door. The average arm length of a 6-foot tall male is about 34 to 36 inches fully extended. Each board on this door is approximately 4 inches wide, meaning the handle to the door is about 8 inches below the window and is about 8 inches long. This means the ladder holding the door closed is about 32 inches below the window. If Ian stood on the bucket or pulled over one of the benches while he reached through the window, he should be able to grab the ladder and unwedge it from the door. The other option is to reach through the window to try and shut off the thermostat on the wall by the door. Standard sauna doors are 24 inches wide and 80 inches tall, narrower than normal internal house doors to help keep in the heat. If Ian's arm is 34 inches long, then if he can pull a bench over to the door to stand on to fully extend his arm through the window, he should be able to reach the thermostat. Even though they can't see the thermostat, it shouldn't be a problem. It's likely Wade showed them how to work it before leaving, and the buttons wouldn't be that hard to figure out. If they hit the right button, the heater should shut off immediately, even if it takes some trial and error. One of the girls could watch the internal thermometer to see whether the temp rises or lowers after each adjustment until they find the one that finally turns it off. Shutting off the thermostat would cool the sauna down and allow them to wait practically forever until someone came to look for them. Renee wants to try breaking the temperature sensor, but Ian thinks that it could make the temp rise even higher. He tells him the sauna can go as high as 250 degrees. This brings up a really interesting solution to their problem. This is a digital temperature sensor. They could cheat a higher temperature here, triggering the thermostat to turn off the sauna by taking one of the hot rocks from the sauna, wrapping it in a t-shirt to avoid burning the sensor, and then holding the rock up to the sensor to artificially make it seem hotter in the room than it actually is. At that point, the system should shut off. The room would cool, and they could wait for rescue. If the stone cooled and the system kicked back on, they would just need to grab another warm stone and do it again. If a hot stone didn't work, they could take a piece of dry towel, lay it on the heater until it caught fire, and then use that to cheat the sensor. Ian notices a wall light. He wonders if shorting the light will short the house's electrical system and shut off power to the heater too. He stabs a wet t-shirt wrapped around the end of a wooden ladle into the light socket. It shorts the electrical system, electrocutes Ian, but doesn't turn off the sauna. Well, that backfired. While Ian probably doesn't know this, most thermostat electrical wiring is separate from the main electrical wiring for lighting, even if it goes to the same breaker. Circuit breakers are specifically designed to break the circuits through your house so that a short or overstimulation in one system of your house doesn't trip all of them. The strategy here is simply not to mess with electrical wiring with your sweaty hands. Wood, especially wet wood like this ladle, can conduct electricity. If we assume another 15 minutes has passed here, their internal temperatures have increased another ½ degree Celsius higher. That's bad news for Ian, who's not only hot from constant exposure to sauna heat, but also because he just fried his insides with electricity. Electric shock can and often does cause heat-generated burns, both outside and inside the body, increasing internal temperature and affecting the body's ability to regulate temperature. Later on, they hear Wade's dog outside and scream and bang to try and get its attention. Ian begins coughing up blood. Michael wanders wanders by, but fireworks from the festival camouflage their cries for help. We learn that Michael fell asleep high on the couch, woke up to the dog barking, and thought his friends had left for the party without him, so he went to hang out with Wade instead. More time passes. When the group runs out of water, Renee goes to smash the temperature sensor. Jenna tries to stop her and accidentally hits Renee in the head with a rock, knocking her out. When Ian tries to downplay the importance of the temp sensor, Jenna overreacts and smashes it to pieces. This causes the heater to kick into high gear. Renee's agitation is a symptom of non-exertional heat stroke or heat exhaustion, as is the loss of consciousness she had before getting up. In a situation like this, where a person's behaving erratically, Ian and Jenna should work together to subdue her. Jenna could distract her and Ian could grab her arm and remove the rock from her hand. Then they could restrain her with pieces of the shirt as makeshift handcuffs. As for the sensor, now that it's broken, they could try to touch the two live wires from the circuit together. Touching them together should trip the circuit that the sauna is on and turn it off. This is a safety feature on many saunas to prevent fires. The other option here is risky, but at this point, with the window broken, their last option is to sabotage the heater for the sauna. This could possibly be done by dousing its flame with water from the sauna bucket or their bottles. Ian points out that the heater is gas powered and that they would then be breathing in gas. Gas heaters are usually powered by natural gas, which is lighter than air, or propane gas, which is heavier than air. Knowing which they're dealing with is the tricky bit. If it's lighter than air, then they can remain low to the floor and let the gas flow out through the broken window. If it's heavier than air, they could stand on the benches with their heads above the level of the window and let the gas fill the bottom of the sauna and spill into the other room through the broken window. Again, this is risky. They don't know which gas they're dealing with. Either way, they could quickly plug the gas pipe with a towel or shirt once the flame was extinguished. This would slow the gas leak. Now, whether someone would find them before the gas filled up both rooms is up for debate. Either way, our heat junkies are running out of time. Wade told them earlier that the fireworks were set to go off later during the party. Since then, we've seen Wade drive to the launch location and set them up, suggesting our group has been in this sauna for at least an hour, maybe even 2. Their internal temps have risen 2 to 3 degrees Celsius since they first entered. Remember, if their internal temps rise by 5 degrees, they're all dead. Just for some context, the World Sauna Championship in 2010 ended when the Russian finalist died after spending just 6 minutes in high humidity 230-degree heat. Time passes again for our trapped trio. We don't know how much, but it's long enough for Michael to get even higher with Wade on his deck. When we get back to our group, Ian experiences sudden delirium. He begins laughing maniacally and kicking the heater. He tries to tear down the heater with his hands and arms, scalding his entire body. Ian breaks the heater, causing an explosion which opens the sauna door, killing him and freeing Jenna. She finds water and makes it to her bedroom before Renee's voice snaps her back to reality. It was all a hallucination caused by heat exhaustion, and she's still trapped in the sauna. Ian appears to be dead, and the sauna is filling with natural gas from the broken heater. Jenna tries to drag Renee to the window for fresh air, but she's too weak to stand Renee up. If Ian had still had his wits about him, he could have wrapped the towels and pieces of clothing around his arms, chest, and legs to protect them from the heat before trying to tear the heater apart. If it exploded, this might also have prevented fatal damage, although noob cloth armor has little to no fire resistance. Either way, it's likely been at least 3 hours since the group entered the sauna, and they've started to exhibit symptoms of heat stroke. It's likely their internal temperatures have risen by at least 5 degrees Celsius, causing hyperthermia. Jenna fashions a sling out of 2 towels, which allows her to hoist Renee to her feet and position her face by the window for air. While Michael gets high in another room, Jenna uses another towel to pull hot rocks away from the heater until she can see the broken gas line. Using the towel and the broken ladle, she plugs the gas leak and collapses on the sauna floor. Using the towels to form a sling is quick thinking on Jenna's part. Natural gas poisoning would be likely in a confined space like this with only a small window for ventilation. Like we talked about earlier, natural gas is lighter than air, so in theory, if they stay low to the floor, they should be able to continue breathing while the gas wafts out the window. Using the ladle handle to plug the leak was also quick thinking, but to make sure the seal is as tight as possible, she should have wrapped the towel or shirt around the ladle before shoving it into the pipe. If the ladle hadn't fit, she she could have dragged Ian's body over to the heater and used his thumb or one of his fingers to plug the hole instead. Then, she could have used another towel or the bucket to try to clear the gas from the room by wafting it toward the window. In the movie's final moments, we learn that Michael stumbled into the ladder outside the sauna and leaned it against the sauna door, trapping them. They're ultimately saved when Wade shows up very early the next morning and realizes they're still trapped in the sauna. He lets them out and calls an ambulance. Renee and Jenna both survive, but are badly injured. Ian didn't make it. While not shown in the movie, I'm guessing Renee left Michael, and after a few long weeks, Michael decided to take the easy way out due to the guilt. Ultimately, there's a reason why the World Sauna Championship was discontinued in 2010. Extreme heat can be deadly, especially when mixed with alcohol and stupidity. Our dead or alive tally is really more of a raw or roasted board at this point. In the end, all three of them could have survived if they used a hot rock or burning towel to cheat the temp sensor, or used Ian's long arms to reach the ladder or thermostat outside the door. With that in mind, I think the human oven in 247 degrees was beaten. How would you have beaten the heat? Let me know in the comments. Hit the like button to save a stranger's life. Hit the subscribe button to save your own. Thanks for watching, and remember, all it takes is one blocked exit to end your life.